When you're overwhelmed, worn out, and feeling stressed, the obvious solution is to just slow down, take a deep breath, and do less. But realistically, how can you do that when the world is screaming at you and your mind is screaming at you that you got to get everything done or else? And how can you let go of this weight of responsibility when it feels like you're being crushed by it? That's what we're going to take a look at today. How to stop getting so overwhelmed all the time. Check this out. Hey, welcome to the Power of Quiet, showing you the ability that you have right now to have, do, and be whatever you choose. You have that power inside of you. And what we do here on this channel is show you step by step how to recognize it, how to bring it out, and demonstrate it, see results in the world. And if you're interested in bringing this out and learning just who you are and how powerful you are, then click subscribe. You're really going to love what we do here. Now, today we're going to talk about how to deal with overwhelm. And this is a topic, a subject that I didn't do so well in my life. I never handled overwhelm very well. Mostly, if I just had one thing on my plate, I could kind of handle that. But if I had two things I was responsible for, three things, more than that, game over. I just couldn't do anything. I locked up, got nothing done. And then my habits of procrastination, escaping, putting my attention into something else, blowing off responsibility, all that stuff kicked in, which just put me in a worse situation. Or if it was something that I'd said, oh, you know what, I got to get this done, I got to just plow my way through it, I would just find myself in this excruciating experience where I felt like I was being put through the ringer, right? Like those old clothes washing machines, right? With the rollers, you just get squeezed right through that. That's what it felt like whenever I really had to just focus and get something done. So I hated it. And I did everything that I could to avoid getting so overwhelmed. But it really just put me in a bad position in life where I really wasn't stepping out, taking opportunities, wasn't doing much. I was more of a slacker and that sort of stuff. Now, having said that, I want to share with you a story of when I got into releasing, into this process that we do here on this channel. And I went out to Los Angeles. I moved out there to help my teacher, Larry. And this is very shortly after I learned how to release. And when I learned this method, something woke up inside of me that says, this is what you've been looking for in life. This is what you should be doing. And I just followed that inner calling. And I found myself ending up in Los Angeles. And when I got there and I started hanging out with my teacher, Larry, my head just about exploded because Larry was a one-man show. He did the work of 10 people. He was there all by himself. He was doing all the marketing. He was teaching classes. He was copywriting. He was buying ads. He was doing scheduling to book people for retreats. And he was doing support calls, basically on all of his literature, everything. He had his home number, so people could just call him up freely. He was always taking the phone. And I just watched him doing all this work. And I was like, Jesus, how are you doing all of that? And I wanted to run away. But quickly, just observing Larry, what I noticed was that he got it all done gracefully and effortlessly. And while in one hand, it seemed like he was doing a lot of work, when I looked more closely, I saw that he really only did what he wanted to do. And no matter how much he had on his plate, if he wanted to just sit and watch golf all afternoon, he did it. If he wanted to go out shopping for the whole day, he did it. If somebody called up, they had a really big problem, no matter how much stuff that he had to do that day, he would just sit there for hours with them, working with them to get them unstuck. And he still got everything done. And that just really blew my mind. So in my time of working with Larry, and especially in my releasing, I discovered that I could do the same. That this whole mechanism of overwhelm was all self-created. And that I could release that. And very quickly, I found myself to be able to just be in the flow and feel like I could just do things without feeling like I'm really doing anything at all. And the things that I had to do, I could just do very quickly. Things that used to take me hours to do, like maybe doing some copywriting, right? I'd have to sit down and work on it for a couple hours. Now I could just focus in, just get nice and quiet, and it just comes out in like 15 minutes and it's done. And just by getting quiet, getting nice and centered and present, things happen, and they happen fast. And all that pressure of overwhelm is just gone. So that's what I'm going to show you. I'm going to give you a little introductory on how to do that, how to get out of overwhelm so that you can get some space and you can get back on top of your life. Now, first of all, what do you do when you're overwhelmed? Now, most of us say, well, I just don't have time to release. I sure would like to, but I got to get this thing done. Maybe I'll release later. I just don't have time for that now. But look at that position that you're keeping yourself in, right? Typically, you'll see yourself spinning around with a problem, trying to figure out an answer. How do I resolve this? How do I get this done? And you're not finding an answer. You're just spinning around in circles. And you end up getting frustrated and beating yourself up. Talk about a time waster. The other thing that you do is you just start taking desperate actions. Oh, I got to do this, got to do that. And you end up taking wrong actions, or you end up doing something that is unnecessary, or you do something that you end up sabotaging yourself, right? You're just taking action without discrimination, right? Just being reactive. And also, you're putting yourself through a lot of torture because you're all wound up inside. You already feel just strained and compressed, and you're trying to push your way through it with all this heaviness. That's no fun. Now, when you stop and release, first you relieve all that pressure, right? You get yourself in a much lighter, clearer place. And when you do that, your mind starts to settle down. You just don't have all these racing thoughts and your mind just pounding on you, right? It just settles down. And then you can start to think more clearly. You start making better decisions and taking more effective actions. But how do you do it? First, just take a look at what's going on right now when you're overwhelmed. Right in the moment. Basically, there's two forces pushing on you. One force is your mind, this voice in your head. Now, who knows where that came from, but it's talking to you, right? You don't know who gave this voice to you, but you think you got to listen to it. And it's just whipping on you, right? You got to do this, or else, right? It's pushing on you. So you got that force going on right there. The other thing that you have is like this gripping feeling, this feeling of pressure, right? It's like a pushing feeling. Sometimes it feels like you're just being pressed against a brick wall. And that's just like a internal feeling. So we're just going to put ourselves in the moment, just right now. And one of these things, one of these forces, it's all like in the future. And that is the mind, because your mind is talking about the next moment, right? You got to do this or else. right? There's going to be consequences, right? There's going to be a deadline. It might just be in the next moment, but it's still off in the future. And that's what your mind is all about. But that feeling, that other pressure, that's right here, right now. And that's what we're going to deal with right now. So first thing, just set that mind aside. No matter what it's saying, no matter how important it's pressing on you, saying, you got to do this. This is critical, right? Just set it aside for a moment, right? Like put it on the shelf. And just focus on the feeling, on that pressure. And to help you get out of your mind, right? This mechanism from the neck up that's just always talking to you, right? It doesn't shut up, does it? Right? It's just always talking to you. Even when you get home in the evening, you want to relax, you're getting ready for bed, it's still just blah, 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 blah. Right? You got to do this, you messed up that, you got to do that again, you got to get it perfect, you got to get it right. It just goes on and on and on. It doesn't shut up. So we're going to just get out of that for a second and get down below this neck area into the feeling center, into your stomach or chest. This is where you feel that pressure, what's happening right here, right now. So just close your eyes, put your head down towards your stomach or chest. This will help you get out of your head and really focus on what you're feeling here. And notice that pushy feeling. You notice it's probably pretty obvious. It's probably so big you can't see the limits of it, but there are limits, right? But just feel that feeling. It's like a pushy feeling. And you also might just feel it as like a tension or tightness or contraction. But you know what that is? That's you pushing on your feelings, right? You're pushing against this feeling of overwhelm. Like, get that away from me. I don't want this here. I need to do this stuff, and this is disturbing me. Get it away. And you could probably notice that. You are trying to push this feeling down, keep it down so it doesn't overwhelm you. But notice how much tension and tightness and blockage that you are creating. Just notice. And notice, because you're pushing on this feeling, you're basically saying no to it. You're saying no to that feeling of overwhelm, that feeling of tension and frustration. Aren't you? Like, no, I don't want you here. I don't like you. Now, when you say no to that feeling, does that make it go away? Does that make it any better? Or by saying no, does it make it worse? And just build up more tension until you can't hold it down anymore and you just explode. Either you lash out or you just crumble in tears or whatever. Right? So saying no doesn't help. And if that's what you're doing and it's not helping anything, then let's go a different direction. Now see if you'd be willing to do something different than say no to that feeling of overwhelm, stress, and frustration right now. Would you? All right. So, instead of saying no to it, just say yes to that feeling right now. See, right here, remember, we set the story aside. Never mind that. Right? Because if you have both of these things right now, it's just like a 1-2 punch. You got the feeling and you got your mind, legitimizing the feeling, making it real, saying, yeah, I told you so. This is serious. You don't need to listen to that. Your mind, it's full of a bunch of negativity. Just set it aside for a moment. And just be here in this moment with the feeling. And look right at that feeling. Wherever it is, whatever it looks like to you, just look at it and say yes to it. Nice and easy. And could you say yes to that feeling a little bit more? And could you say yes to it a little bit more? Just look at it and say yes to it. And say yes to it some more. And say yes to it some more. And some more. And even more. And nothing more than that. Just look at it. And just those 3 little letters, just say yes to it. And say yes to it a little bit more. And even more. And even more. And even more. And notice what you're experiencing now. Just check to see how you feel. See if that pressure, that feeling, that tightness has loosened up a little bit. See if it's a little bit softer, a little bit lighter. You notice a difference? It might be slight, it might be subtle, but just check. Now, effectively, what you're doing is when you let go of saying no to it, you just simply say yes to it. What you're doing is you're letting go of pushing it down, holding it in place. Right? And you feel that difference. And now that you have a little bit of momentum going here, now let go of pushing down the rest of it. Right? You see, you're doing it. However, whatever that means to you, however you experience it, you are pushing down on it. So let go of pushing down on it. And just let that overwhelm come up. Because guess what? It wants to leave. And for some reason you don't like it, or you're afraid of it, or you're annoyed by it, and you're like, ugh, get away from me. But you're just keeping it in place. And it's just like, hey, I want to get out of here. All right, so just let go of pushing down on it. And just let it pass through. In fact, you could open up an imaginary window or door right in front of your stomach or chest, wherever you feel that tightness, that tension. And just imagine that as energy just going out the door. Maybe you see it as smoke or light or water just flowing out. But just let that energy go. And open up and let it leave some more. And even 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 more. And how does that feel? Notice a difference? Does that feel lighter? And that's showing you that you've been in charge this whole time. You feel like you're stuck with the overwhelm, right? Like you're a victim of it. But now you see, you were just creating the whole experience by pushing down your feelings. If you weren't pushing them down, there would be no overwhelm. The feelings would just come out and leave. And you feel lighter. You feel clearer, more positive, happier, right? And because you are in charge, take a look to see if you've been disapproving of yourself. Like maybe entertaining some poor me story. Right? Why am I the one that has to be stuck with these responsibilities? Why am I so behind? right? Why am I in this situation? How can I get out of it? And you're basically beating yourself up. Like you don't like yourself, you don't like the position that you're in, you don't like what's going on. Now, how does it help you to beat yourself up? Is that going to get you a solution? Is that going to help you get things done? Now, I know a lot of us are masochists in a way. We think, yeah, well, when I beat myself up, I motivate myself. Oh, great. That's a lot of fun. Right? Would you like a better solution than that? Now, just take a look. See if you've been beating yourself up. And again, does that really help you? And more importantly, who's doing it? You are, aren't you? And if you're doing it, and it's not really helping the situation, it's just getting you to start forming these beliefs and pictures about yourself like, oh, I can never get out of the situation, which creates a self-fulfilling prophecy, then why do you want to keep on doing that? So could you let go right now, disapproving of yourself, beating yourself up? And it's just a simple yes or no decision. Just decide. Could you let go of beating yourself up? Even if it's just a little bit. Could you let go of beating yourself up a little bit more? And could you let go of beating yourself up a little bit more? And a little bit more. And a little bit more. And even more. And could you let go of beating yourself up even more? And even more. And even more. And how does that feel? Does that feel lighter? Now notice something. In each of these steps that we've taken, where you started saying yes to the overwhelm, and you let go of pushing down on it, you opened up and you let it leave. And now, when you've recognized you've been beating yourself up and you decide, okay, that's silly, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to let that go a little bit more. Each of these things, you're feeling lighter and lighter and lighter. And guess what that is? That's the real you. That's the real you that I was talking about at the beginning of this whole video, that has the power to have, do, and be anything that you want. And notice, you didn't have to conjure up some sort of positivity or lightness. You just let go of that negativity. It was covering up what's already there. And now you're experiencing what you really have inside. Now, let's step into that. Could you give yourself, right now, a little bit of love and approval? For no reason, just because it's today. Could you like yourself a little bit? Again, yes or no? And could you give yourself a little bit more approval? And a little bit more approval. And more. And even more. And even more. And even more. And even more. And how does that feel? Even better, right? See, now you're really stepping into who you are, because you are that love that you're now giving yourself. That's the real you. And one last thing. Take a look to see if you're wanting to control the situation around you. You're wanting to control things, right? You're wanting things to be different. You're wanting things to be easier. Or you're just wanting things to be a certain way. And notice the more you want control, the more it feels like you don't have it. Because wanting equates to lacking. And that's the position, again, that you put yourself in when you're wanting control. And just notice, right? The more you want control, the more locked up you get, the more jammed up, and you don't have control. So take a look. Are you wanting to control what's going on? And how's that working out for you? Is that really getting you control, or are you still wanting it? You're keeping yourself in a stuck place by wanting it. Therefore, right now, could you just let go of wanting to control what's going on? And again, yes or no? And could you let go of wanting to control the situation a little bit more? Yes or no? And a little bit more. And a little bit more. And could you let go of wanting control a little bit more? And even more. And even more. And how does that feel? You might notice just by making that decision, let go of wanting control, that pressure that you're feeling inside dissolves even more. And just take a check. See if it feels a little bit more like you have control right now. Notice that? And that further proves that want equals lack. And when you let go of wanting control, you have it. So, that's just a little bit of taste of what you could really do when you show up and you start making the right decisions. Instead of keeping yourself in that overwhelming situation, it's all self-created. Now, if you want more of this, and you want it at a deeper level, then I invite you to join me for the upcoming 6-week Time Mastery course. Now, you might be saying, 6 weeks, I don't have time for that. Then you especially need this course because it's going to show you how to be 10 times more effective at everything that you do and how to just feel like you're doing everything effortlessly, like you're not doing anything at all, like you're not even lifting a finger, yet you're just watching yourself move and do things and it's just graceful and effortless. And you just put yourself in the present moment, just in the now. And you just feel like you're in the flow. And from that place, you start to experience miracles happening, like time collapses and things that you want to achieve, no matter how big they are, happen instantly without you seeming like you're doing anything at all. And this is very easy to demonstrate. If you want to demonstrate this and put yourself in charge of your life, then join me for the Time Mastery course. I'll put a link to it up here, also in the description below. And just find out for yourself. Time is just a picture in your head. It's all your imagination. So join me and find out what the truth really is. All right? But keep on working at this. Keep on releasing. Keep on proving it to yourself that you are in charge of your feelings and the world around you. All right? Until next time, happy releasing, and I'll see you on the next video.